All right, I'm going to go 3 wide now and welcome in Big Gun Brian Petrie into the conversation. It was a big week for him. More on that later when we get to the main event challenge. But just in terms of a few things, BP, and it's good to see you, buddy.
Hey, what's up, boys?
I told my personal trainer, Rio Santana, at the Institute of Human Performance that you were 6'3", and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm telling you."
I'm bigger than people.
Box too.
I got the baby face. I'm bigger than people think. I'm a thick old boy. I just got thick parts. That's all it is. By the way, where's Kenny at? Who's this 22-year-old guy with no face wear doing the show?
Yeah.
Who's this handsome guy? What's going on?
I don't really like the no beard, but every once in a while,
I think you look good both ways, bud. That's what I'm
thank you, thank you, dude. He's making me feel good after the week he destroyed, absolutely destroyed me. I'm down on the ground, mounted, just shots. Just sorry. All right.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into all of that. What's most interesting about that? Respectfully, like I had no idea until I tally the standings, right? And maybe I could have a better memory or listen better. I listen to every goddamn word you guys have to say, but I don't know when I'm calling these fights what's exactly going on. Maybe I should just bring the card with me when I have a commercial break or something. But we have a family atmosphere here on the Anik and Florian podcast, so I waited to bring up my kids in the arena until this segment. I know Petrie, as a father of young children, was touched by the UFC, sort of taking care of my kids. But I have to tell you guys, so because it was a matinee, it was the perfect storm. VIP arena area wasn't particularly crowded, right? But circumstantially, Bri, my kids left after round 3 of that main event. And certainly they saw a bloody co-main event. And my kids don't care about the blood. They had the time of their lives. To Amber and everybody else, like, I don't even know how to repay you people for the experience you gave my family and the memory that we will now have forever. But what are the odds that they would walk out after round 3 before the 10-7? Thank God.
Right.
Like that could have really had an effect, I would think, on my daughters. Like that dude took a pounding in round 4.
Right. That's nuts, dude. It's touching. I'm such a softy now with the 2 girls, and seeing your wife post that stuff about your son, because I knew it was his birthday. Happy birthday, Hunter. And then seeing him be that close to you. Oh man, it pulled on my heartstrings, man. That's cool. It was, I believe it was 2 of your 3 kids' first shows. Is that what you said? Yeah. So I mean, that's just unbelievable, man. That's really cool.
All right. So on my list for you today, Chepe Matascal and Trevor Peek, but firstly on the main event. And we did a deep dive on the Josh Emmett side, but a 10-7 round in MMA is when a fighter completely overwhelms their opponent in effective striking and or grappling, and a stoppage is warranted. What were your thoughts on that part of the fight, that huge 4th round for Topuria, and I guess everything that happened between rounds and thereafter?
Yeah, I had no problem with the 10-7. I mean, listen, Topuria, every time he hit Emmett, it hurt him. I mean, if there's a 10-7 MMA, that's got to be it. You know what I mean? So I have no problem with that at all. And usually I'm a guy that's like throwing the towel, right? You know, his face is a mess. Every time was a thud to the head. You're like, ugh. But Emmett's power keeps him in a situation like that, because you can't pull the rug from him, because we've seen it in the Michael Johnson fight. So it almost like it hurts him, because he's going out there in the 5th round winging shots, and one of those can land. You know what I mean? Like, what if one of those lands and we're talking about this great comeback by Josh Emmett. So it was not hard for me to watch. Actually, usually it is. I just appreciated Emmett's heart when the doctor asked him, like, do you want to continue? He's like, fuck yeah. Like that. I mean, that's some G shit right there. And then Topuria answering all the questions that I had about him. And I know we were kind of active in the group chat. His patience, his vision in the pocket. Chris Curtis, who's not complimentary, nor does he watch MMA, complimented Ilia Topuria's defense, which says something, right? That's a guy who's paying attention to someone really good defensive like that. I love the main event, man. I think we have a star in the making. Topuria, good-looking guy, speaks English well, speaks Spanish. Has not a lot of people come from Spain either. I know he's Georgian, but he's got the Spain. He's there with a hot chick walking on the octagon. He's flashing on Bentleys on Instagram. Like, this dude could be a star for sure. And I'm glad you touched on his management, because his management, coaching, whatever, they're really putting him in positions to shine here. And that's really important. So,
and he's got the entourage behind him all week. Not unlike some of the Irish fighters or the Georgian fighters. There's a definite vibe when it's Team Topuria in town, and they masterfully handled their first UFC main event and all that came with it. All right, so Chepe Matascal and Trevor Peek. It's one of the best fights I've called in 2023. I'm so excited to talk to Chepe Matascal in the future here on the Anik and Florian podcast. But I guess I'll ask you this, because it did not win fight of the night. That went to Ilia Topuria and Josh Emmett. And oftentimes the preliminary fighters don't get that type of nod or treatment because of everything that happens thereafter. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is the question that I formatted for the show today. How do you compare at year's end a fight between Jared Cannonier and Marvin Vettori at the UFC Apex versus Chepe Mariscal and Trevor Peek with a crowd? It wasn't like packed to the nines at that point of the night. But in terms of those two fights in back-to-back weeks and the fight of the year conversation, how do those stack up in your mind?
So I'm a bit of a MMA snob, as they would say. The Trevor Peek Masvidal fight was great, but it did get a little kind of backyardy, brawly. Peek with his hand on the cage, gassing and then throwing haymakers. Like, that's really fun. You need fights like that. Both those guys are absolute dogs. But for me, being a snob, I'm glad I don't get a vote. I prefer a little more technique, a little more, like that's like a Leonard Garcia type of fight, back in the day. Everyone, those are cool. Those are great. I enjoyed the shit out of that. I was at my daughter's birthday party watching on my phone going nuts. Like, look at this dude from Alabama just swinging, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, fight of the night, sure. I mean, listen, Topuria Emmett was a more high level fight, more stakes. I don't know how that factored in. Hopefully those guys got some kind of bonus. Because Chepe looked, he's fought some really good guys outside the UFC. That's bad handicapping on my part. I picked Peek just because he's kind of a little MMA Twitter marvel right now. I mean, the guy clearly cuts his own hair. I don't know where he trains at in Alabama, right? But he's just swinging. And Chepe has a decent little record. He went in there and performed really well. But yeah, it wouldn't be on my top five, Johnny, a fight of the year, if I'm being honest with you.
I don't know that either one of them is going to end up in my top five. I just think it's an interesting conversation. Beauty in the eye of the beholder. I like this one better than Vettori Cannonier. I think you're shortchanging Chepe Mariscal. A skosh, right?
Okay.
Cody's writing in the chat, Trevor Peek always gets backyardy, and I agree with that. The downward hammer fist. I can't wait for Kenny to watch it next week. But Chepe Mariscal, man, for a UFC debut, right? Up 10 pounds at lightweight. And the strength of schedule, Ken-Flo, by the way, coming in. He's the first guy to beat Yusuf Zalal, took his beat Pat Sabatini, fought Bryce Mitchell in 2017, fought Gregor Gillespie in 16, Sean Soriano, Steve Garcia in an LFA main event in 2020. Like, this dude deserved to be here. He's been helping Justin Gaethje with his defense, with his sparring. Chepe Mariscal, man. Chepe fucking Mariscal. Like, I'm so excited to see the future. He's got a significant other, Claire Guthrie, chief in the corner. Let's go, Chepe.
Dude, I got to say, I got to defend myself here a little bit because people get upset. They're like, dude, does Florian watch these fights or what? And I'm like, on a PFL fight week, and it's 3 in a row, it's very difficult for me, guys. I'm sorry. I got to watch twice as many fights as everybody else. I gotta get there. I have a family as well, guys. I do other stuff as well. It's really tough. So if I miss a fight and I'm not speaking intelligently about it, I am so sorry. But it's not because I don't want to. Okay.
No, some weeks absolutely are tougher than others, to be sure. And I certainly don't bring that up to throw you under the bus at all. All he's required to watch is the main card for us, and we're required to watch the main card of the PFL, and we will get to PFL 6. I might have to shortchange these UFC Fight Night predictions just a little bit, boys, because there were so many other things that we need to get to here from this main card on ABC. Like Ray Longo touched on Brendan Allen, Kenny, but Brendan Allen has arrived at 185 pounds and had a willing dance partner in Bruno Silva, who provides a tremendously high danger factor. But Brendan Allen wants to fight the toughest guys, and even though maybe he turned this fight down initially, he understood the value of a win over Bruno Silva and gets him out of there. Ken-Flo on ABC. And I agree with Brendan Allen in terms of what he said after the fight. Like, he presents a threat to Adesanya in myriad areas the way a lot of these top 85ers who've had a shot don't.
He's turned a corner, man. I think he's in a good spot because of where he's placed in that division and the fact that Adesanya has beaten everybody in that division. He's got a shot at some point, right? I think that was smart for him to do that. He has turned a corner, no question in my mind, because there's times where, like, he will lead with his heart and his toughness, and he'll find a way to win. This was his skill leading the way, I think. Obviously, he did get hit with a certain shot. His toughness was there, but he was so calm on the counter. And when he finished, it was like, I don't know. It looked like that student-teacher relationship when he got the finish. He was like, nah, son, went back, had his space, knocked him out, watched the whole thing happen, watched like the punch whiz by him, and he just took care of business. It was sweet. And I think he's really coming into his own. That was a great fight for him to build yet even more experience and confidence and momentum. And I'm excited for him because he's also just a great kid. So good to see him do well, man.